Today's video is about Chapter 2, Lesson 3A and Lesson 3C. We're going to revisit these square roots and we're going to talk some more about cube roots. All right, here's our cheat sheet list of all of the cubes. So if you were to get as a question the cube root of 1,000, what would you say is your answer? Well, you'd look at this list and you'd say, I see 1,000. We only want the base. And I have to write a 3 right here. The cube root of 1,000. So we find 1,000. We don't want this little 3. We want to know what number is the base. So the answer is 10. Cube root of 64 is just a 4. Now, on the last lesson, if I had the square root of a negative number, like the square root of 64, or the square root of negative 16, do you remember what we said for those questions? Well, we said they were no solution, because if I had 8 times 8, not going to be negative. And if I had negative 8 and a negative 8, not going to be negative. And that's the rule. They both have to match to make this number, and there's no way to make a negative number. But guess what? Not so with cube roots. If I had negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, all 3 of them match, I can have the cube root of negative 8. The cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. So in cube roots, it's okay to have a negative under the cube root sign, because it's possible for all 3 of them to match and all 3 of them to be negative. All right, let's do some estimating. And so I went ahead and wrote out the square list again. So I'm going to make them small, keep them off to the side where we can see them. And what if I had a question that said, estimate the square root of 83? Okay, so I'm going to go to my square root list, and I'm going to say 83 is awfully close to, boom, 81. It's between 81 and 100. But it's only 2 away from this guy. It's like 17 away from this guy. So since it's really close to that, we're going to say squiggle, squiggle. It's about 9. So they're going to give us numbers that are not on this list. We have to find out the closest number that is on this list. Let's try another one. Estimate the square root of 10. What'd you get? 3. It's about 3, because 10 is really close to 9, and 9 is 3 squared. Okay, estimate the square root of 65. Yeah, 65 is pretty close. Oh, this answer's wrong. To 64. So the square root of 65 is really close to 8. Okay, what if we had, this one's a little harder, the square root of 20? Well, it's pretty close to 16, but it's also pretty close to 25. So if I think about 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 20 is right here. Well, it's only 4 away from this guy, but it's 5 away from this guy. So it's actually closer to 16. So I would say the square root of 20 is about 4. It was closer to 16, and 16 square root is 4. How about the square root of 52.1? What is the square root of 51 pretty close to? We can have decimals under the square root sign. That's not a problem. Well, 52 is pretty close to 49, and 49 is 7. There we go. Let's estimate some cube roots. Let's estimate the cube root of 100. Look at our cheating list. 100 is really close to 125. It's only 25 away from this guy. So this is, about 5. How about the cube root of 403? Well, 403 is either going to be 7 or 8. But how do I know for sure? I can't draw it out like this. Let's subtract. Let's take 512 minus 403 and see how far apart they are. And let's take 403 and 343. Subtract and see how far apart they are. Whichever number is smaller, that means it's closer. It's either closer to 343 or closer to the 512. Well, it was 109 hops from 512 and 60 hops from 343. So it's closer to 343. Answer is 7. All right, let's talk about area and volume of cubes or square shapes. So the area of any square is side times side, where both sides match each other. So if the area is 64 inches squared, and I come down and I look at my little list, if the area is, well, I should do this. If the side squared is 64, and I square root each side, one side would then equal, look at your list, 8. Volume is side cubed. Side times side times side, where they all match, they're all the same number. So if side cubed is 1,331, and I cube root each side, look at your list, look at your list. That means each side is equal to 11 inches. Okay, let's look at this one. If side squared is 35, and you go back to your list, I square root each side. Oh, it's not going to be exact. Each side is going to be approximately how long. So part of your homework will want you to estimate. It's about 6 inches, because 6 times 6 was 36. Over here, if I cube root each side, then each side is, it's not equal to, but it's going to be about 3 inches, because 3 inches was 27 on our list. Here are your Google Classroom questions. Give me an actual answer for the cube root of 1,000, an actual answer for the cube root of -27, and an estimate for the cube root of 70.